Dealing with the past is an important aspect of community relations that we need to deal with, because the past is still the lens through which we look at each other. And that means that even if we're talking about issues here and now, we bring up the past and it becomes part of the argument. And that's why, even though as part of the recent discussions, flags, emblems dealing with the past were all together, but dealing with the past is underlying all those other issues. And until we've tackled that, other things are going to be a problem, and something else will be a problem around the corner. There was a time when dealing with the past wasn't discussed, when there was the feeling that if we just kept quiet and didn't look at these issues, it would be all right. But that isn't the case, and you can see that it's happening everywhere. So whether it's initiatives that are set up by the governments or by the politicians themselves in terms of the consultative group in the past, or the Haas-O'Sullivan panel of the party talks, right through to the fact that there are calls in the media for inquiries, but also the world of arts and drama is looking at dealing with the past. There have been a lot of initiatives within groups, within organisations, even within families, where they've started looking at these issues. But there's also an awful lot happening across society with kind of groups working with each other, and that's what's really positive, that we're finding a way to take this really difficult subject and have conversations with people we disagree with. Well, it was the politicians themselves who set up the panel of the parties and invited Haas and O'Sullivan. So they have showed that they see this issue needs dealt with. They've showed a willingness to engage in it, albeit that from various aspects there have been difficulties in that. So they need to keep the momentum and saying this is an issue we need to deal with. At a community level, we need to find ways of helping them. We need to share the debate that's been happening around these issues and show that we have been working on these things together, and therefore enable them to do that. One of the main difficulties is that there are individual needs and there are societal needs, and not only are they different, but in many cases they can actually be contrary to each other. And so we've got some difficult conversations and decisions to make about how we resolve those differences, and I think that's something that needs to be led from the community sector, because it can't be led from the political sector, and we can't put that burden on individuals and those who've already suffered. The difficulty is that this is always an issue that divides us, and therefore how do we find a way of talking about it? How do we find a way of working with each other? How do we see compromise not as loss, but a way of us all building a better future? How do we look at each other's ideas and say, how can I find a way of working with that, rather than thinking, I don't want that, or that doesn't work for my community? And they're not easy things, but if we can find ways of helping each other do that, and we can find a way of dealing with the past, then other issues will be much easier to solve.